What's up, guys? We are back here with the second video in our series of case studies now with Jared Simmons. The first one has already aired, and that's where we unfuck Dave Tate alongside Alex Kickle. So if you haven't seen that one, that's a very cool one. Go back and watch that, where we delve into Dave's current protocol to help keep his blood work in a good place. Now, the idea of this series, very simply, is to hopefully give you guys some actionable takeaways. The idea is that we're going to go through some of the stuff that we're doing with various clients so that those of you who have similar goals or who are perhaps running into similar issues can look at what we're doing to make progress in those areas so that you can take direct takeaways from them for your own progress, for your own journey. So that's what we're hoping to glean from these today. We have Jared with us, this is his third time coming out now for a recording. So Jared, thank you.
Thank you.
Can you just tell us a little bit about yourself, a bit of background so that we know who we're dealing with?
Sure. My name is Jared Simmons from Davenport, Iowa. I am the founder of The Platform and also head coach at Platform Ready Powerlifting. The Platform is a nonprofit meant to advocate for and encourage adaptive athletes across all strength sports to compete on platform, stage, field, wherever they may need to find that competition at. And we're there just to help them find their way to it, along with working with federations. And I'm one of your lifters.
Sure. Awesome. And you just judged and coached at Para-Nationals, was it?
We did. We just passed Saturday in Parkersburg, West Virginia at Monsters Bent Barbell. I was a judge for the USPC for the first ever, as far as we know, first ever sanctioned powerlifting meet with both open and adaptive and para lifters. So it was Monsters Power and Para Nats. And we had 8 adaptive and para lifters in total from across the country coming to West Virginia. We had guys flying in from Arizona, North Dakota, and then all over on the East Coast.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely amazing.
That's a huge step forward.
Yeah, huge. It may have been only 8 people, but it was an absolutely huge event. Sponsored by Mars. Mars Bar actually helped sponsor it. So, if
there is anyone listening to this who is an adaptive lifter or knows an adaptive lifter themselves, where can they get some information about what you're doing for them?
Through my Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of me. Myself and my wife, Shira. We run basically the platform from there. My handle is the platform AO on Instagram. She is Shira_pop. That's the best way to get a hold of us. You can also reach out to, at this point now, obviously the federation to USPC. There is a USPC para page solely focused on the para division and adaptive division.
Fantastic.
So,
well, thank you for all the work that you're doing there, and I'm sure a lot of that goes in behind the scenes.
You guys have been a part of it too. You guys have given me tons of support ever since.
I hope so.
So thank you.
No. So let's dive in now. The first part of your journey or progress that I want to talk about first is essentially what we'd call like your recomposition. So when we started working together, you were weighing in like the high 130s or 140 pounds, and you've got some pretty lofty goals in the 148 category. So we had room to fill out.
Yep.
To put it bluntly, but
we definitely did.
There was also room to bring your body fat down to, which, at the end of the day, putting on muscle and losing fat at the same time is the holy grail for most people, right? If we could all click our fingers and have one thing in the gym, we'd probably take that. And you achieved that pretty nicely. We're going to put up a comparison photo for everyone to see. On the left is your start photo where you're about 140 pounds at the start. And then on the right is the end of your recomposition phase before we transition to your comp prep. And you're about 148 pounds then.
148 or so.
So about 8 pounds heavier, but also leaner.
Yes.
I don't think that progress photo does you justice in that regard, but I remember you sent one to me recently of you doing, is it the knee raises on the captain's chair? And you can definitely see there that body fat has been lost, but you're 8 or
size.
9. I mean, now at this point, you're 10 or 12 pounds heavier. So everyone's like, well, how does that work? Okay, so like first off, what I want to delve into is the cardiovascular work that we're doing. So Noah's going to pull up the part of your protocol that addresses your cardiovascular work. Now, from your perspective, you've obviously built up to this over time, but does this feel like a lot of cardiovascular workload for you?
So I've been in the sport competing at this level for almost 10 years now. This is the most amount of cardio I have ever done.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it does feel like a lot. On the grand scheme of things, is it though? In reality, is it a lot? I don't think so. I think it's the appropriate amount.
Sure. Okay.
I think it's the appropriate amount.
Now, as we've scaled this up over time, and we're going to go into each one individually, like why they're in there, for example, but as people are looking at the end result on the screen now, has there been any point where that cardio has detracted from your ability to perform in your sessions?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
So what, sitting here now, what are we, 6 months in? Something like that, perhaps, maybe more.
Well, it's August. We started in last competition was December.
Oh, wow.
We really started in late January.
Okay.
After the retreat.
7 months.
So we had the retreat. But yeah, we're full 7 months entering into 8. We've had some pauses and some deload, like just some off weeks in between there. So yeah.
But sitting here now, say 7 months in, and looking at this, so we've got 3 low intensity cardio sessions a week, 2 interval sessions, daily walks, all of that added in. As you sit here now and you look at that, how do you feel compared to, so you're at the very start of your 3 weeks into your comp prep now.
Yes.
How do you feel compared to 3 weeks into any other comp prep that you've done?
I feel more prepared. I think maybe I mean, mentally and physically, more prepared. The recomp had a lot of different pieces that was unfamiliar to me in my coaching style, how I would coach. But I started seeing how everything started clicking and tying into each other. Because at the same time, I noticed that my energy levels and the amount of time I needed rest between sets during those recomps was shorter and shorter.
Sure.
So I come into this and it's prep. Prep is hard. But I'm able to push through it. I don't know. I think it's just physically I feel more prepared, but mentally the mindset is a lot more just not overconfidence, but a lot more certain.
Sure. That's great to hear. So let's go through each of these individually so people can just kind of understand, like, why would a powerlifter, a max strength athlete, be doing all of these things, right? So first off, we've got your step count, 8,000 steps per day minimum. Like what is your average daily step count, would you say?
8,500.
Okay.
Around 8,500. We
kind of want that there because even just for your posture, right? Your NEAT, your energy expenditure, all these types of things. I think the biggest, should we say benefit, and I want your take here, the biggest benefit for people focusing on step count is it just stops them sitting on their ass all day.
Exactly. Well, I'm a project manager for my day job, so I'm usually at a desk in front of several screens. Do I try to be hunched over? No, but it happens. So it
forces to everyone.
I think what it does too, and that's I think I kind of want to keep stressing not just the physical side of it, but the mental side of it, or the emotional side of it. It forces me to take a break and get up and reset and move around and get outside. If I really want to get my steps in, I'll go outside and I walk the building, and I'm out getting some sunlight. Yes. I'm out getting some fresh air. Yeah. And
your eyes are getting a break from the screen.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. I haven't, that's a good point. One thing I've noticed, I used to get about 2 or 3 in the afternoon, would get not just really tired, like almost wanting to doze off, but headaches, the stress and the strain headaches. No, I don't get that now.
Perfect. So for those of you who are looking at it being like, oh, I have a desk job, the step count is probably more important for you than it is, because it's the only thing stopping you from going from being sat at home eating breakfast to sitting at work to sitting on the sofa at home, and then the only time you're on your feet is in the gym when you're probably sitting down between your rest periods.
Exactly. You're only up because when you're getting in under the bar or
for sure.
Exactly.
So it has a lot of benefits, but for me that's the biggest one. So then next up we see their daily walk, so 30 minutes plus, meant to be relaxing, nasal breathing. You're taking lion's mane before that. Now,
yes,
the main reason that this is beneficial, you've kind of already alluded to. Get outside, get some sunlight, be around nature ideally if you can. But a big part of recomposition, which I think people get wrong, is they're just not fit enough to A, break down and utilize fat well, which is done in those low arousal states, like when you're walking. And then because of that, they also can't handle the kind of workload they probably need to do in the gym to create that effect.
Exactly.
And we'll go over your training in a minute. So the daily walk is something that I think people should be doing regardless of their goal, not just to contribute to that step count, but to get outside and get everything moving. For you, how do you work that into your day? Because again, there's going to be a lot of people like you who are project managers who are like, yeah, well, great, but I have X, Y, and Z, and I struggle to do that.
It's a priority to me.
Okay.
And I find usually it's around 12:30 every day. Maybe I'm just a creature of habit or creature of routine. It seems to be what works well for me. My mind already kind of, once around noon's hitting, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be having to get up and go do this walk here soon. But it's about midpoint in the day. It lets me get a nice reset, call it my lunch break or whatnot. I usually eat meals at my desk anyway. But I think it's given me more peace of mind where I'm not as stressed at work.
Sure.
Because I'm not allowing a report to become, bigger than what it is.
Sure.
My health and my peace of mind is more important than that. So I'm able to just at 12:30 cut loose real quick. I figured out a time for it to fit in between meetings and conference calls and and all that, and get my walk in. It's summer and it's the Midwest. Not every day is sunny and perfect out. It can be 90 degrees, 100 degrees and hot. It could also be thunderstorms and dumping rain. I still do it. And
you still feel better for it even on those days when it's thunderstorms.
Absolutely. I can think of basically, I think there's only been, I can count it on less than one hand in the time since that's been assigned that I didn't get the walk in during the day at work. Usually if I had to cut loose for like a family thing or something. But then I just made sure that I hit, okay, then go, you're gonna be at the gym. You can turf walk. You can walk around the gym outside if you can. You can hit the woodway if you need to.
Yeah.
So there's ways to get that. So I just moved it to a later time.
So for those that are watching who want to have recomposition or fat loss as a goal, when we're burning fat, we're in what's called like a beta oxidative state, which is just the fancy science term for breaking down fat and using it for fuel. And if you want to lose fat, you have to be good at that, which means you also have to spend time doing it. So the step count, the daily walks, all of that is accumulating time of activity in that low arousal state where your body will be breaking down fat. And for those of you who are listening who maybe have been overweight for a long time, you're probably very poor at breaking down fat. And that's going to make it harder for you to lose fat. So these low intensity, kind of laborious things are actually really important for getting all of those mechanisms upregulated so that you can efficiently break down fat. Yes, calories per minute wise, not great. Return, but very important. So next up, it's written under the bracket of cardiac health, and we'll explain that in a minute. Right now, you've got 3 sessions a week, 20 to 25 minutes, keeping your heart rate 120 to 130 beats per minute. So how are you fitting that into your week of training, and what's it looking like? Like what modalities are you using?
Usually it would be on the tail end as a finisher or a cool down before my actual cool down of my lifts. Or I fit it in. There's 2 days usually a week that I do specifically mobility and cardio. Perfect way that I found that works for me, and maybe just because I get bored if I'm on the woodway for more than 10 minutes at a time, is I would do circuits of it. I'd pull the concept rower over to the woodway, walk 5 minutes to 10 minutes on the woodway, jump right over and do at a moderate pace 3 to 5 minutes then on the rower, then right back on the woodway until I hit somewhere in between 20 and 30 minutes.
I mean, I've watched Dave do that.
Yep.
We've got like just 3 or 4 pieces of I think he lasts like 3 minutes on one. Then he's like, I'm done. And then he's got to go through it.
Go to exactly. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what it is. It's at a moderate pace, doing that, and it seems to work really well. We have an assault bike at the gym. I guess I could do that just with arms. I'd get no legs on it.
Yeah, sure.
So the assault bike,
you got like chocks to put on the
chalk or
pedals.
something. So the assault bike's kind of sometimes out of the equation, but the rower works really well. I used to do the rower every once in a while, but I always looked at it like with disdain because I always think CrossFit when I see it. But I've actually really come to like that. I really like it.
I mean, the rowing is kind of the lifter's cardio. You know what I mean? In terms of like the muscle output and that type of thing. It really is the one that carries over the best, I think. So,
and I think there's a skill to it. You have to learn the technique because otherwise it'll burn you out quick if you don't have the technique down.
Yeah, for sure. So like we have that written under cardiac health.
Yes.
Right. So the reason that that's written that way is because that kind of moderate intensity zone is a place where we can get extra blood flow going to your heart with venous return. So your heart walls are expanding and contracting, which helps keep them elastic. Right. But yes, we could get that from HIIT, but how much time can we spend doing HIIT?
Compared to,
you know,
right.
like you can spend an hour per week very easily in that zone, getting that benefit of that heart wall expanding, contracting, and staying elastic. I'd like to see someone do an hour of HIIT on the assault bike per week.
I think I'd be planning their funeral probably after that.
So, you know, for this, that there will obviously play into your recomp in terms of just energy expenditure for sure, but that's also going to be a long-term play for your heart health. You know, for those of you who are competing in strength sports, maybe using PEDs, you know, that's even more important for you to have in there, because that heart wall is going to hypertrophy, it's going to stiffen over time, and this is how we help stop that from happening to some degree. And then last but certainly not least, we've got improving oxygen usage, so getting you more efficient with using oxygen. We have 2 HIIT sessions per week, which only last 4 minutes. So 10 seconds on, all out effort, 20 seconds off,
break,
right?
Yep.
What are you doing for that, and when are you performing it?
That's the rower. That's the rower, definitely. It's all the rower. Yeah. That's at the tail end of any of the other lifts too. That's always on the lift day. I never do that one after just a mobility day or anything. I always do that on at the end of a lift day. No matter how hard it seems I worked, I still was able to get in that, because maybe it's because it's 4 minutes, but man, it's a hard 4 minutes.
As it should be.
If you're going all out, if you're going either at 9s or 10s, it should be hard. I remember always just sitting there on the rower, just counting in my head 20 seconds, 20 seconds, and then watching the thing as I'm rolling for 10 seconds, and you stop. And nasal breathing as much as I can through it. Nasal breathing, even with the interval work. Yeah, good. Oh yeah. I found out that I would wear out faster doing just through the mouth, and I think that's become an ingrained habit now. Is just as much nasal breathing as I can. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's 4 minutes twice a week. So I don't think that's a big deal for anyone to. It shouldn't be. Right? No, it shouldn't be. Now, for you, how do you find? So the biggest hang up here is going to be like, oh, I've just done my heavy deadlift session, right? And now I've got to go on the rower or the assault bike. Like, I don't have the energy. So what would your response be to, because that's understandable, right? This stuff is hard. So what would be your biggest comeback to maybe someone who wants to do this work, but is kind of between, and ahhing about it because of that? Mindset. How important are your goals to you? There's 2 things that always pop into my mind. Because I know we're chasing lifts that I haven't hit before. So I have to do things I haven't done before. How important is that? I failed 555 here last time I was trying to squat, but I know I have it. Yes. But if I want to get it, how important is it? And then after that 555 is the 600. How important is that 600 squat to me? Sure. I have to do this if I want it. And the other thing too is I look at like, well, who out there that I'm, at some point in powerlifting, I'm going to be competing against others. They're probably doing what's, that next extra step. Sure. If that's going to make them better than me, then I need to do one more step more than them. For sure. Good. No, absolutely. And like, for those of you watching, you're looking at that, the main thing Jared is getting out of that HIIT work is when we push to a point where we hit failure or very close to failure from an oxygen delivery standpoint. So not lactic acid, not willpower, but genuinely not able to pull enough oxygen into the body to keep going. That's when we see all those positive benefits on your mitochondria and everything that's responsible for delivering oxygen to your muscles. So that's where Jared's VO2 max and all that type of stuff is going to start improving, which is going to help him deliver oxygen to his muscles between his work sets when he's training and all day every day. So it might only be 8 minutes a week, but those are hard 8 minutes, but the payoff is very large. Which I think is why it's important to put. I would recommend anybody that is doing this to put it at the tail end of your session. Sure. Put it when you're in that fatigue state. Yeah. When you've already kicked your ass. Because all that matters is that you're running out of oxygen. We don't care about the power output on the row. I mean, sure, you will turn it into a competition and you want to see it go up, right? But at that point, what is your definition of tens? Yeah. What is your tens? Your tens then is going to be different than what your tens would if you came walking in just fresh off the street. Yeah, for sure. So that's great. So that is a big part of the recomp effect, is getting you aerobically fit enough to handle the workload of your training, which we'll go on to, but also so that when you're at rest, like now, you can use fat for fuel effectively, which I think physiologically is something that a lot of people are struggling with. Now, when
we're going for a recomp effect most of the time. We're going to be in a calorie deficit most of the time. So therefore, we want to still make sure that we perform well in the gym, which is where the whole Peri-Workout Nutrition, comes in, which I'm going to open up on my laptop now. So I'm just going to bring that up on the screen, and Noah's going to pull that up on the screen for you guys so you can see what Jared is taking prior to his workouts. So in here right now, pre-workout, we have 50 grams of carbs from fruit, 500 milligrams of sodium, 300 milligrams of alpha GPC, and 400 milligrams of injectable L-carnitine. That's quite a stack.
And we double the alpha GPC on deadlift days.
Yeah, when the lift that you struggle with.
That I struggle with, we double that. So
let's dive into that one first. Yeah. So the 50 grams of carbs from fruit. When we're in a deficit the rest of the time, we want to make sure that our glycogen is fueled and everything prior to the gym. But liver glycogen is more important than muscular glycogen as far as your body is concerned. So we put fruit in there to make sure your liver glycogen is full so that we don't end up pulling from your muscles to fill that up. Now, for you, people will look at 50 grams of carbs like 15 minutes for the workout and think, oh man, how does that sit on your stomach? So for you, like with that coming from fruit, is that a problem then when you go to like heavy squat or deadlift?
No, not at all.
Perfect.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Because usually I have that, I live about 5 minutes away from my gym. So as I'm getting ready, I'm eating that. I still have to get to the gym and warm up as I'm going through warm ups. So there's still some time for everything to digest.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not sitting in, and it doesn't sit in me like 50 grams of like rice.
Yeah.
The carbs that you get from rice or potatoes would.
Sure.
It doesn't sit in me like that. It digests it's easy. It's pretty easy.
Then we've obviously got the sodium in there as well, which will help shuttle the carbs to the place that we want. But I think a big problem that people have, when they're, and this is like when they're trying to lose fat maybe as well, you're in a deficit, but when your food intake goes down, what also goes down? Well, your electrolyte intake as well. And then you start not storing as much water, stop storing as much glycogen.
Dehydrated.
Yeah, so then some of your strength loss can be just from that. So, for some people that could be a gram of sodium beforehand, depending on how well you tolerate it. So that goes in with the fruit to help everything go to the right place. The alpha GPC now, that's a pretty common one. Most people might have heard of that in terms of it being a choline donor. So it helps spike acetylcholine levels, which is basically the neurotransmitter responsible for learning, memory, recall, all that type of thing. So when you've been taking those higher dosages, especially when you deadlift, which is the lift that's kind of a hang up for you, how have you found that in terms of what effects do you feel?
Even keel. Okay. Just even in my head, just even keel. There's not a lot of mood swing. I feel more focused. I think I just feel like it's more goal oriented. Here's your deadlifts, get these done onto the I don't know if it's almost like a real simple just divide and conquer, get this done, but focused on it. I'm not very distracted.
Yeah, sure. And does it make you feel jittery or like anything like that?
No, not.
So even if you're training late in the day, that's
no,
not an issue.
Nothing. No, perfect. There's no jitteries, no crash, no. It's not going to wire me up even when I leave the gym or anything. Nothing at all like that.
Awesome. And then last there in your pre-workout stat, we have the injectable L-carnitine, which is probably one of the most underrated players when it comes to a recomposition tool. So pre-workout, we talked about the importance of being able to use fat for fuel at the start. Injectable L-carnitine in this example is going to increase beta oxidation, allow you to burn more fat at rest, which is also going to mean that when you're resting there for your 3 minutes or whatever during your set of squats, you're going to recover faster and burn fat and and also liberate less glycogen. So you are going to be able to handle a bit more volume, hopefully rest
longer, like a little bit rest. Yep.
And have you found that your rest periods and things like that have come down over time now?
Yeah, they definitely, or when I set like 2 minute rest period, the 2 minutes don't get there, then I'm like, okay, well, let me add 2 more minutes to that. I'm ready to go. Yep. Actually, I'm usually ready to go if it's a 2 to 3 minute rest. Sometimes at the 1 minute mark, I'm ready to go.
Wow, okay.
I usually still rest though for the just because it's like, well, I want to make sure that I've got everything for the rest of the work. I don't want to blow my load now and not finish the next 2 or 3 sets. But I do find that I'm ready to go.
Is that an interesting problem to deal with mentally? Because you might go, say someone goes and starts doing all this cardio work, they use the L-carnitine, all that stuff, whatever, they get fitter. You go from like asking for extra time to being ready early.
Yeah.
So then you have to battle that demon. You're kind of like, I'm ready to go, like 60 to 90 seconds.
You have to keep that in check.
Yeah.
You have to keep that in check. It's the whole, I think it plays right into, everybody does the whole YOLO thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I could hit my max today if I wanted to, but do you need to?
Sure.
No. Should you? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. So you do find having to like pull yourself back now to make yourself do those 2 or 3 minutes. Right?
At times.
To like asking for more.
Yep.
Okay, good problem to have.
Yeah.
Now, intra-workouts, in there we've got cyclic dextrin,
yes,
creatine, EAAs, and electrolytes.
Electrolytes, yep.
So how do you, that's an interesting concoction. How do you feel using that intra-workout? Because that's quite a lot of stuff to be putting in your system. Does it sit in your gut okay?
It is.
How do you find your kind of endurance is throughout Jared's secret stuff?
So there's
Love it. Yeah.
Do you want to hear the story behind this?
Please do, yeah.
Okay. So black shaker bottle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure everybody probably has one. It's pretty common. We have probably 5 members at the gym that have this. It's happened twice now where I'll go, and it's usually by my gym bag. I'll go to grab it and it's gone. And close by on the counter somewhere else is somebody else's empty black shaker bottle that is probably pre-workout.
Yeah, sure.
Water, because I guarantee there's nothing. No one in my gym is drinking what
we just
our secret.
Yeah.
Secret stuff.
Someone else in your gym somewhere is having a great workout.
Oh, well, we're usually calling them like, hey, we find out because we look like, okay, who left?
Yep.
Yes, they have a black shaker. But hey, yeah, I have this. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I was wondering what this was because it sure isn't what I drink. I'm like, yeah. So we got it back. The last time we got it back, the owner of our gym said, I'm going to fix this for you because I was going to get a sticker made that just said, not fucking yours. She goes, we have to be nicer about that. I'm like, okay, what are you thinking? So she does this.
Yeah.
It's a Space Jam reference.
Yeah.
If you remember, like,
oh yeah,
like Michael,
the original
Space Jam
reference.
Oh yeah, there's only one space. There is only one Space
yes,
Jam.
I didn't mean to bring that up.
So I got
perfect.
My Space Jam.
Does the same stuff? Does the same thing happen when you drink it?
I think so. I mean, the recomp's going.
Just imagine you like turning into a Looney Tune and getting jacked.
Oh god, that'd be awesome. Like the Martians.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm down for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Or just make me into Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy was on. I'm totally fine with being Muggsy Bogues.
Yeah, as you should.
Yeah.
So that concoction we've got in there,
but it's
the cyclic dextrin. First off, how do you find that? I assume you've used other carbs intra-workout before. How do you find that? Like, because like people will look at it and go, "Oh, it's pricey." Right,
it's not pricey.
It's more expensive than dextrose, though.
Well, dextrose or like a bag of Sour Patch
So,
Kids.
like, how do you find that sits in your stomach or whatever compared to something like dextrose? Like, what's the difference? And for you, does it then justify the cost?
It totally justifies the cost. What is in there? I'm able to go through my workouts, not really crash, maintain, I guess, a constant energy level. I basically start sipping on it as soon as I start warming up. I think it helps it keeps me hydrated. It keeps me definitely I'm not sweating my ass off and feeling depleted. I think the cyclic dextrin is probably the big key thing that's in there. It definitely keeps me fueled.
Awesome.
Definitely. It's better than any. I don't even drink pre-workout. I don't need to.
Yeah.
I train at night, so I really don't want that high stim effect anyway. But before, I always used to have to like really push through for that energy. This
takes care of that.
Yeah, this takes care of it. This is awesome. Personally, I don't think anybody needs a pre-workout like if you have stuff like this.
Sure. So the reason that's it. So first off, why cyclic dextrin? Yeah. It doesn't spike your insulin like other carbohydrates do, so you don't get that kind of coming down effect, like sluggish.
That crash.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the main reason why cyclic, there is, in my opinion, no reason to use it elsewhere other than intra-workout.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We don't need to worry about that effect. But mid-workout, you don't want to be spiking insulin, having your adrenaline and everything come down.
No.
So that's why cyclic dextrin is useful. It also gets absorbed out of the gut very easily, which I'm sure you've noticed. Then we got the creatine, the AAA, and the electrolytes. If we're pulling carbs where we want, where is blood flow going during your workout? Your muscles. We hope. Anyway, so whilst all the blood flow is going to those areas, well, let's pump in some amino acids, some creatine, electrolytes to help everything go to the right place. So for those of you who are maybe taking creatine in the morning, there's nothing wrong with that. But having it during your workout might actually help more
deliver it more efficiently,
place that we really want it to.
Yep.
And then last but not least, then post-workout, we've got whey protein, which I'm sure everyone can kind of get on board with there. We've got 50 grams of high GI carbs, so specifically like sugary carbs, and the injectable L-carnitine again, and oxytocin, which we'll talk about. So the high GI carbs are there just that now we want to spike your insulin so that your adrenaline, your cortisol comes down. Do you feel like the idea is that with the high carbs, you would feel like you're coming down and calming down after the workout? Would you say that's happening, or would you say you need more?
If I time it right, instead of just sitting around either at the gym, like I used to, just sitting around kind of taking my time talking, lift with a purpose and then leave the gym with a purpose, because you've got to refuel, you got to refeed, because after those carbs, after the high GI carbs, I still need to get my post meal in me. And I can't do that 3 hours later. I need to do that pretty soon. So if I usually have my protein there ready to go, and I mix actually my protein with Gatorade. I found a really good protein from animal that works really well with Gatorade. So it's not like chocolate or vanilla, like just the crap that just fills up your stomach and just sits in you. Like it digests really.
Like the clear type?
It's the clear. Yep. Yeah. It's the clear that they made. So I'm glad they did, because I can mix it in with some Gatorade and I have everything all in one right there. And I have that down usually by about the time that I'm getting back to my house.
Awesome. For those of you who don't like protein shakes that taste like a milkshake or whatever.
Yeah,
it's cool.
yeah. So if you can, there's other brands too that make, I think, some clear ones, but this is the stuff that I found that works best for me. One thing I think we should mention too, on the intra, on the creatine, I'm actually taking 10.
Yeah.
Well, you having 10.
Yes, you're correct.
Which usually everybody's like 5. If you're training at this level, especially in recomp, I think that 10 is highly important.
Oh, for sure. And that can be dialed up.
Yeah, it can be. You can be dialed. I've seen some people taking 20 to 30.
Yeah. I mean, you're at 10, and because you're at like 140, like 150 now. If you're a 250 pound lifter, like 10 grams is like a drop in.
It's a drop. Yeah, you need to be taking probably about 20.
Yeah. The cognitive benefits and everything of that are great. The higher you scale it, the only problem you can run into is some people will get like gut problems,
gut issues, if they're taking the monohydrate. Yeah.
And all you got to do is split it.
Yep.
Like 10 grams during your workout, 10 in the morning, whatever it might be. Thank you for bringing that. Then we also have the injectable L-carnitine again, post-workout. Now for you, what we're hoping to get out of that is when you do a training session, you burn through a lot of acetylcholine, which we've kind of already touched on. Basically an important neurotransmitter for moving around and coordinating. As you burn through it, you accumulate these things that are called acetyl groups. And they are the thing that make you feel like you have brain fog the day after a hard session, or the day after a competition. Everyone knows, right? You have all these acetyl groups floating around that need to be disposed of. The injectable L-carnitine comes in and actually helps pull them out of the brain, out of circulation, and then you're recovered. So neurologically, you are not recovered until all those acetyl groups have been cleared. So what we'll probably do now during your prep, as all that training load and neurological stress goes up, that injectable L-carnitine can be titrated up and up and up, and probably taken out pre-workout, because as your volume drops down, maybe you don't need it as much, and we can make sure we're getting more of that neurological benefit. So for me, that's a cool example with the L-carnitine of like molecules like that can actually do a lot of different things depending on when you play them. Like we could put it, and for those who are interested in recomping and fat loss, first thing in the morning,
kickstart,
because if they increase beta oxidation and fat loss or fat burning, cool, do that. Go do your fasted cardio, whatever.
Well, in which on our non-training days is when you do have me taking it is first thing in the morning.
There you go. Wow, thank you. You're just giving me more kudos.
I basically,
And then the last thing we have in your protocol, which is going to be an odd one for people, is oxytocin. So I want to talk about that very briefly, and then you can have your say on what you felt from it. So oxytocin is another one of those really cool molecules that, it's not banned by WADA or anything like that, and it can do so many different things. It basically can elevate whatever state you're in. So if you take it pre-bed when you're already very calm, it will help you be even calmer and can make your sleep quality go up. Conversely, the part that people very often forget about it, if you're in an excitatory or even an aggressive state, you can use it there to enhance that. Yep. So like, imagine pre-squat, meet day, you can actually, because everyone associates it with like the love drug, and it's not. It enhances the feelings that you're kind of already having. So you know, or you're an MMA fighter about to go fight, you could take it then. Now, the cool thing for you, or for someone who's looking to recomp, is oxytocin will directly break down fat cells for energy and direct it towards muscle cells. So post-workout, you finish your workout, we put that in, break down fat cells, put them straight into muscle tissue which has been damaged. So my question is, have you had any of the side effects that are associated with it as you've ramped up that dosage? Because that does happen.
No.
So
because I've been very cautious and safe, you know, as with anything that's new. No, I probably always play more the safe game or the long game. I think I always try to approach the less is more approach.
Sure.
I do, yeah, it definitely does at the end of a lift. I think 90% of my training days I get done and I see, okay, this is, you know, I may have some doubt when I'm coming in to lift, but if I complete it and have a good training, I'm like confident. That certainty is more just cemented and reassured. And it's usually at night. Yeah. So it's one of those things like too, like, you know, you can go to bed a little bit more peaceful and satisfied with the day rather than all this doubt and like uncertainty floating around in your head, which I can be very good at.
So like, again, for those of you looking to recomp, injectable L-carnitine, oxytocin, two great compounds, which you can go back and look at Jared's before and after photos. Those for me are probably the two biggest players in his results, on top of his hard work, of course, that, you know, are not approved by WADA and all those types of things that everyone can be using if they wanted to. Now, what I was going to say, just with a caveat on that, the reason you've dialed it up slowly is because everyone has a very different reaction to it. So for example, I can take up to, and I have to do math now, so give me a second. I can take up to about 150 IUs before I start to get the flushing and the tingling. Like red, you know, like it feels like a rush of blood to your head, basically. That's, and you go a little bit tachycardic, your heart rate will go up.
You go up, it'll be like a little flutter. Yep.
So that's how you know you're at your tolerance. Whereas like Naomi, she can take, and again, I gotta do the math, she'll take about 30 and she'll hit that spot. So you need to start very low, because for all you know, you're the someone that hits 30 and is like, whoa. Okay.
I think we started very low.
I think we started at 8.
Yeah, 8. Yeah, and I've taken it up to about 40. And
nothing yet. None of that. Okay. So we'll just keep titrating it up.
Yeah, yep. We've slowly been bumping. Nothing really yet. I don't think I'm approaching, but who knows? I mean, the difference between
it will just hit you like that.
Yeah, it's like it can't just be all of a sudden like there you go over the edge. So, but no, nothing great. Just slowly down.
If you're someone who tries that and gets that effect, it will go away in like 3 to 5 minutes. Like you don't need to panic, it just feels weird. But, so I think so that's, you know, a lot of what I think went into your recomp, but the other part of it was the training volume that you're able to handle, partly because of the Peri-Workout Nutrition being good, partly because of all the cardio. So I just want to bring that up on the screen now. So that what we can see on the screen now is your squat and your bench workout. And, you know, right now, I think the exercises aren't important. What I want people to see is just how much volume you're doing. So on your squat day, you've got Zercher squat, 5 sets of 3, 4 sets of 5, back squat for 3 sets of 8, and then Zercher squat again for 1 kind of AMRAP set with a hold. And then farmer's walk, which are basically done for conditioning. That's quite a lot of work. So what I want to say is on week 1, when you saw that and you did that workout, how did you feel and what were your thoughts maybe going into it?
Week 1, I wasn't too alarmed because that was where I think it was like the 2 sets at 5, right? And the 3 sets at
so that's
4.
titrated up.
But because I probably cheated and I looked, I was like, well, what's week 2? What's week 3?
Yeah, sure.
And then I saw how it was like, then it became 3 sets of 5, and then it became 4 sets, and then everything was 5. So I'd be, I would, as we went deeper into it, I'm like, oh man, because I knew how Zerchers were also one of those things that we were pushing very hard.
Sure.
Because it was a huge weakness when we first started them, that then became
less weak.
The less weak. I really actually, but I loved the challenge too. But it was a lot of it was a lot of volume. It was a lot of work to go through those, and then usually the secondary lift also was usually like a 5-4, and then the 5, or whatever the rep structure was. So there was a lot of volume. If you look at it, if you just tell people you're doing sets of 5 or sets of 4, they really don't think it's a whole lot. But once you actually, because I would have it up on a board, I'd have it checked off, and once you're done and you look back and you see all those hash marks, it's a lot of sets. That's a lot of sets.
I mean, if we take an average, your bench workout was the same there.
Yep.
So we're looking at, on those compound lifts, we're looking at 13 work sets.
Yep.
All of which are pretty hard and all above 70%.
Yes.
With a third of them being at 85%.
That's the thing too. Is you look at the load. The load itself. Sure. It wasn't like it was at 60 or 65%. It was not at lower phase. It's a lot. It was all working weight.
So what I would say here to someone who's looking at this, when you're in a recomp phase and you're in a bit of a deficit or you're at maintenance, you don't have a huge amount of resources to just spend on training every exercise variation or every muscle group, whatever. So 13 sets on compound lifts is a reasonable amount of volume, but it probably, if you choose the right variations, is probably going to hit everything you need.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that even with your work capacity being in a great place, if we had gone much higher than that in terms of volume, we probably would have been.
Or if we had added in, like, say, like another movement with like 3 sets, like an accessory movement, 3 to 5 sets, the typical, like, okay, 3 to 5 sets of 15 reps. We probably would have burned out. But we didn't need to, because we already hit what those accessories would have hit.
And the one thing I would say here is, like, for you as a lifter now, going, like, you have a squat day and you have all that volume, but they're all squats. How, say you're coming into the gym after a long day at work and having to only perform one movement pattern, only having to warm up one movement pattern, do you find that kind of made the volume more approachable for you? Like, you only, like, as opposed to like warming up for squat, doing that, thinking about what cues you need to work on. Now I have to warm up for bench and this other thing. Okay. And you know what I mean? Does that make it more approachable when you are doing volume?
It does, because my mindset, I hate SBD days. I'm not an SBD fan. I guess I do like having things, your lower day, your upper day. But I think also, but having it, just where I just knew, okay, Zercher today, focus on that Zercher and not really thinking of anything else other than that. It made it really easy to dial in.
And focus on, say, the cues that you need.
Yeah, the cues I needed. And I think you saw it in my check-ins. I'd send it to you, but I was already calling out, this fucked up. I fucked this up. This was wrong. Yeah. This is shit. Whereas before, I would probably be like, well, I got the lift. It doesn't look good. Sure. It doesn't look good, but I got it. Like, more like kind of just blowing it off. Like, well, I got it. But then this time around, I was more like, I think I was definitely more dialed in on because it wasn't a comp squat. It was a variation of that movement. But there's a lot that goes in specifically to make it that variation.
Sure. Now, I want to ask you about the loaded carries, because again, I'll bring up your the second part of your training, which is like, days 3 and 4. Which is deadlift and pendlay row, which we'll talk about. Every workout ends with a loaded carry. What's your experience been with introducing those? Because I presume you weren't doing much of those prior. So now that they've been in for 6 months or so, what's your experience like with them? What do you feel you've gleaned from them, so on and so forth?
Slowing down, not rushing it. I think before, when I did the limited work that I did do with a carry, was, all right, move this weight as fast as you can up and down the turf. And really, I'd be kind of like all over the place. My core would be shit. My bracing would, This we moved a lot slower on with more intent. They kicked my ass.
In what way?
They were at the end of the workout and they kicked me. And they're the one movement that I think exposes a lot of my weaknesses.
Okay. Sure.
So they were, so when I'm already basically fatigued, those weaknesses were a lot more glaring. At first, I really had to strip a lot of weight off them to do them right. I had to get kind of creative on them too. I think we had the loaded Zercher carries, so I ended up using an easy curl bar.
Yeah,
which actually
works really well.
It works really well. One, then I'm not having to do S curves between on the turf between other people that are on it with a big long barbell. But it fits in really well. I could still you can load a ton of weight on it. But yeah, I think, and it kind of went in with my mobility work that I do, with that intentional gait work that I do. I'd work both at the same time, because I couldn't go back to my old, pattern of walk and try to do these loaded carries. The whole point behind fixing my gait was to be able to do this stuff under weight.
Sure.
So yeah, no, showed me where my weaknesses were, definitely in my back, in my back. I think one thing we need, and we did most of this work all beltless.
Yes.
A ton of this work. I think it was very rare. And even now in prep, it's rare
so far,
when I throw on the belt. Now in squats with the camera, because obviously I'm in wraps, so wraps kind of necessitate, okay, you better have a belt on probably the same. And maybe when the bench gets over 3 now. But we did all this stuff without the belt.
Because that was a weak point for you, which we'll segue on to now. But what I'll just finish off there is those loaded carries, they're done with 60 to 90 second rest periods. It's loaded cardio.
Yes.
Which again, from a recomp work capacity endurance perspective, wonderful. And also they don't beat you up like lifting does.
No,
they're hard.
They're hard, but you recover from them pretty quick. You do. You recover from them pretty quick.
So I think that's maybe a tool that more lifters should probably be. Now, as you've alluded to, there's a difference between doing a loaded carry as a core or an endurance postural exercise and doing it like a strongman, trying to move the maximal load from A to B. Like, what over here is posture dominant and slow. Over here is basically falling forward, repeatedly.
Yeah, falling forward and catching yourself.
I mean, no disrespect, no, it's just a different approach, right?
We were just talking about that with some lifters at the meet. Yeah, exactly.
So with the time we got left, because this has gone on in a good way longer than I thought, I want to talk about your body proportions. And obviously, having dwarfism, being 4'5", do I remember that correctly?
At this point, probably shrunk down to 4'5".
Most people would look at that and think that your height is the biggest thing that's an issue, right? Now, when it comes to equipment setup, there's issues which we've kind of gone through, but the main things that we had to address with you was actually down to your body proportions as opposed to your height. So we did your measurements before this, because we already kind of knew what they were, and we'll bring these up on the screen now. So we're looking at Jared's leg length, right? I'm going to bring this up on my laptop so I quote it correctly. Your height's about 135 centimeters. Your leg length, when I measured it, was about 57, up from the floor to your iliac crest. So you came out at 42% leg length. And you can see on the screen now, anything between 40 and 43% of your height would be considered short by my standards. So you do have short legs, but you also have extremely short femurs within that, which makes your legs behave like they're even shorter, because that proximal segment is important. So that's why, as we'll see, because we'll do a little bit of filming after this, when you back squat, you're basically upright. And we'll compare that to me, who has the opposite proportions to you. That's very, very different. Now, your wingspan came out 113 centimeters, and I'll skip forward to that, which we'll bring up on the screen for you. If you're short, I would say if your wingspan is less than your height, you have short arms. You are minus 22 centimeters. Minus over 10%. Yes.
Yeah, over 10%. Yeah.
So it's 15 or so. That's a tiny wingspan. And that in itself then comes with its issues. So again, we'll put some cheat sheets up on the screen for you guys.
Like a hummingbird.
You are. So when it comes to programming, when you have shorter legs, you're going to be very upright when you squat. So for you, squat is a quad exercise because there's no hip flexion, right? Which is great if you want to squat big weights. What's your best squat?
In competition, 540.
Okay. But then when you come to deadlift, not so good. You have a tiny wingspan, which exacerbates the issue, but also you're naturally quad dominant because everything you do is very upright. So then you come to bend over and pick up a bar, your posterior chain is naturally weak. What's your best deadlift?
320.
Huge discrepancy. Which you would expect to some degree with someone who's very short-legged and very short arms. Then the other thing that we have then is your wingspan being extremely short makes you a pressing dominant person.
Yes.
It's short arms are great levers for pressing away, i.e. look at every great bench presser ever.
Yep.
But they're terrible levers for pulling things towards you. Go look at every Olympic swimmer ever, right? They look like upside down triangles and their arms can pretty much scratch their knee. Yeah, at the bottom, right? So you then had a natural weakness in pulling movement. So like, what's your best bench?
355 in comp.
Yeah, which is, over double body weight.
Yeah,
which is,
and over my dead.
Yeah, and more than your deadlift, right? But when we started doing pendlay rows, how much weight could you move on a pendlay row?
Strapped in and strict, I think it was 245.
Yeah. So probably we'd want that up at like 90%.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Yeah, it was like 245, I think.
And that's actually
for a single 220. It was 225 to 245.
Yeah, it was I think 225.
Yeah.
So there was a big, and same with your chin-ups, like there was a weak point there big time. So for those of you who are watching, and again, we'll put these on the screen for you. Short legs, short femurs, quad dominant. But if your legs are short, what has to be long? Your torso, right? And if your torso is very long, it's very hard to stabilize it, right? Jared, you have
a long torso,
a very long torso. And what have you paid for the price? You paid the price for that with the spinal fusion. Now, I'm not saying it's all down to that.
No, it's not. It's not.
But for someone like you with such a long torso, core strength is going to be way more important for someone who's built like me, who has a torso like a dwarf. Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
So the loaded carry, like for you, the Zercher squat, yes, it's front loaded. It's more quad dominant than the back squat, but that's not why you're doing it.
No.
For you, it's a core exercise.
It is.
Same with the Zercher carries, the farmer's walks and that type of thing. And then similarly with your wingspan, like we look at your training, you're going to be tricep dominant in your pressing. I mean, we can see, like, if you go back in the video and look at your start photos, you're all traps and arms, which is exactly what short arm lifters will be. So you have no lats and no pecs.
Right.
So we see you have a whole workout dedicated to rows, pendlay rows, but with a supinated grip.
Yes.
So a bit more lat dominant. And if we look at your bench press workout, which again we can pull up, all your stuff is pretty much done with a wide grip.
Yes.
Because you're naturally so tricep dominant.
Yes.
So what I would say is, how have you found those like the Zercher squat, the Spoto press with the wide grip, the deficit deadlift with the snatch grip, they're just to make you range. When you're as short as you are, your range of motion on deadlift is tiny.
Yeah.
Right? We need to do something to take you through a greater range. And the supinated pendlay rows, how bad were you at those at the start?
Horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
And just in terms of weight, or they felt unnatural as well?
Both.
Okay.
Both. When I first started them, I tried to throw weight on and just muscle through it. But that wasn't the point of why they were programmed. So it was more concentrating on the strict form. I think definitely with the snatch grip deads. And it was kind of figuring out with short arms, moving my grip out, just even 3 inches. Made a huge, all of a sudden you go from, a comp grip to also, your snatch grip. I think we moved a little farther out than that though. And those were at deficit too, I believe. Those were at deficit also.
Small plates.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were doing. Yep. We were doing small plates so that forced more range of motion. On that movement. Bench, definitely moving out to a wider grip. Because I was before, it was all just shoulders, traps, triceps, maybe a little bit of upper back, the traps on it. We didn't have a lat spread at all. No lat spread.
No, we
thought I did. I thought I did.
Yeah.
We had no lat engagement. And we definitely had no pec involvement at all. So going over to, and we switched over to a false thumbless grip.
Yes.
We changed that. That engaged everything. Totally different.
So now when you're pressing, do you feel like you can use your pecs now?
Yeah.
Okay.
My lockout feels entirely different. Entirely different. My whole bench press feels different.
Sure.
Before at the top end, it always felt more like I was still somewhat rolling into it. Just to get the lockout or get it to move back up there, and now it's more of a press where the arch is maintained, and I think it's more of a true. It's a better lockout.
Perfect.
But I feel it too. I'll get up from a set, and there's instantly a pump.
Good. Perfect.
Where
Your Zercher squat, what was that kind of at the start compared to where it's at now?
Well, we did it over in I don't think the rig's here anymore.
No, that one's gone.
The rig's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had the God, I remember that. That was a struggle to even just do. I wasn't even doing body weight. I mean, I was getting them, but I do want to be like, and it wasn't my legs that gave out. It was my core that was giving out. I still feel it blasted my core. My core definitely feels it first and foremost with how we're doing them. I do get a pump on my quads, but now that we've moved up in weight, I think we started with a really shitty 135 maybe, and we're at 250.
Sure.
I think we're at 250 for 2, I think, actually.
Still way to go.
We got to go to 340 at least for 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would want your Zercher squat like 60 to 70% of your raw back squat.
Okay.
So we got a bit to go.
Yeah, that's
where most people should
it's
be.
Headed but it's definitely, I think the cool thing is the confidence is there. I'm like, yeah, I can, once things start moving and I got it. Yeah.
I mean, especially again for you, we've talked about your weak point with your long torso. Like you can squat 600 now from the hip down in reps, but from the hip up, you can't squat 600 yet. Nope. So like that Zercher squat starts creeping up into the 300s, then maybe we're talking. And for those of you who are listening to this, that body proportion assessment, we put the slides up on the screen for you so you can see what constitutes like a long leg or a short leg, a long arm or a short arm. That's probably one of the most important assessments you can do of yourself. It can straight away help predict where your natural weak points are going to be. If you've got long arms, you're naturally going to have less stability in your pressing movements. You're going to be a pulling dominant presser. You're not going to have great triceps, so on and so forth. If you've got long legs, I'm using myself as an example, you're going to have a lot of hinge in your squat. You're going to have a great posterior chain, but probably have poor quad development, anterior chain strength. Straight away, even if you're not a coach, and you don't know that much about this stuff, but you're coaching yourself, you can say, cool, these are the places I'm probably weak. These are some exercises that will help work on that, so on and so forth. So that would be one thing I think people should probably take away is like, just do those measurements. It takes 5 minutes, and then you can probably take a lot of the guesswork out of your own program. Or if you're a coach, that 5-minute assessment can give you some really good guidelines.
On your client, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So what I want to do now, since we've spoken about body proportions, is just show people. We're going to go out and do a little bit of lifting just so people can see what that looks like, especially when compared to people with different proportions. But before we do that, is there anything I haven't mentioned with your kind of body composition changes or your programming so far that you feel that people should know about in terms of these are things that you think would make a difference for people?
This was a clean bulk. Like the diet was pretty well dialed in. I mean, you're taking over nutrition now for me, but even so, when I was running my nutrition, there wasn't a lot of. There might have been one. I think Tom even programmed it in for me. Saying, "Hey, take one cheat meal a week, or 2, a cheat meal and then like a dessert meal with your kids." And that was more or less just for the dopamine. Just for
say what you said with the kids.
Yeah, with the kids. Yeah, with the kids.
It's not in a dark living room on your own.
No, it's go out and enjoy it. Be with, because obviously I want to do the fun stuff with my kids. So we'd go out, we'd get, pizza, wings, Mexican. We'd always get, and ice cream was always the cheat. But everything was meal prepped. And I don't use a meal prep service. Everything was meal prepped. It was a lot of just, rice, potatoes, chicken, beef, breakfast I ate routinely. Not a lot of fast food. Hardly any, actually. I don't like fast food. So it was done. I guess that's what I want to stress is the recomps can be done. Everybody thinks when you recomp you have to gain or lose your bulk. Because in my case, I put on size. I bulked up a little bit. It wasn't a dirty bulk, so it wasn't.
True.
It wasn't Wendy's and McDonald's and and KFC 5 times a day. It was done.
True.
Correctly, but it just took time.
Yeah, like the same macros can have very different effects.
Exactly, very different effects. Exactly, especially when we're talking about overall health markers like your blood pressure, how you're treating your actual heart itself, things like what you're filtering through your organs. The food's going to play a massive, probably the most important role in it. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we'll go and do some lifting now to get some, just so people can see what we're talking about. We talk about the importance of proportions, but before we do that, thank you very much for coming out and going through this. I hope it was useful for some of you guys. If any of this stuff is of interest to you and you have questions, put them in the comments or DM us on Instagram, whatever it might be. We want these videos to be insightful for you all and for you to learn some things that you can apply to yourself. So hopefully we've hit the nail on the head there, and we'll see you in the next one. Right, so we are going to finish off this case study with Jared with just an example of the importance of body proportions and how they alter your technique, and also then the movement pattern and, should we say, the muscle recruitment that's involved with the lift. So we've got Jared here now who has very, very short legs relative to his height, especially very short femurs. Okay, so he's got like 42% leg length, which is reasonably short, but then within that, his femurs, which make a bigger difference, are very short. Me, conversely, I think I'm 62% leg length. So my hip bone is actually up here, right? So I basically have like giraffe legs and the torso of a dwarf. So very fitting with Jared right here. Totally. So what we're going to do is we're going to have Jared squat, and we're going to look at what his bottom position is like in terms of his torso angle and what his positioning is like and what that means for his muscle recruitment. And then I'm going to do the same, and we're going to compare so you can see like the difference that this makes, okay? So Jared, when you're ready, if you don't mind giving us a couple of squats with a pause in the bottom position, just so we have kind of chance to assess and look at what your bottom position looks like. Okay, so just go like a shoulder width stance, because I'll do the same so we can try and make as many of these variables similar as possible, okay? So just squat down as you normally would, and then just pause, and what we want to look at is his torso angle here. So the more that this goes forward, the more posterior chain loading we're going to get. Now for someone like Jared, who's very long in his torso and very short in his femur, he's going to have a lot of quad loading, because he's quite upright. He's gonna have a lot of knee bend, but not that much hip flexion. So for Jared, a back squat is a reasonably good quad exercise. Just go one more for us. Perfect, thank you. So when Jared is squatting with the bar on his back, he's gonna get good quad loading because he's getting quite a lot of knee flexion. He's not gonna get a lot of posterior chain action because there's really not that much hip flexion going on. But he has the problem of, if you can put your fingers on your hip bone for us, like he's there, that's his torso length. That's very long for his height. So he has to worry about stabilizing this segment. So when his squats get heavy, it's not his quads or anything like that that's gonna be his weak point. It's his ability to stack here and stabilize that load, which is even more important because he's a wrapped squatter, where he gets to overload that even more, which is why he's been focusing so much on Zercher squats and loaded carries and things like that. Now, conversely, we look at someone who unfortunately might be built like me, who has 62% leg length. I think I'm yet to find a person who is longer than that, so please drop a comment if you are. I also have proportionally long femurs, which makes this worse. Now, if I go with a kind of shoulder width stance, kind of like Jared did, just so we can make as many similarities here as possible, when I squat down in that bottom position, I'm gonna have a lot more
massive difference
hip flexion, and my torso angle is going to be way more bent forward. So my torso is probably more bent forward at the bottom of my back squat than Jared's torso is at the start of his deadlift, which makes, you know, arguably we could probably make an argument there that my back squat is more of a posterior chain or a hip hinge exercise than Jared's back squat is. Which is why when I back squat, I'm gonna get very little stimulation from my quads, but it is gonna be a great posterior chain exercise. So for someone like me, I would probably look at things like Frankenstein squats or front squats, heels elevated squats, whatever it might be, that allows me to get that knee going further forward and the torso more upright, so that I can actually get some quad loading from my squats. Whereas for someone like Jared, he's gonna need to do way more deadlifting, way more hip hinge work, because that's naturally gonna be his weak point. Whereas for me, I'm gonna spend a lot more time here doing my squats, doing my anterior loaded work, maybe doing single leg, you know, split squats, front foot elevated, split squats and things like that. So do your body proportions, look at the slides that we put up on the case study, and you can use those to determine what your accessory lift should be and where your weak points are most likely gonna be.